And welcome back to worldwide coverage of the World Super Touring Championship Season 5, Race 2, reverse grid time. Fairly obvious who's on pole. It's the top 10 reversed. Jason Thompson managed to squeeze one in towards the end of the race. Disappointing, at least one of the Cobra Motorsport cars there. Michele Zanardi finished 12th eventually. We were expecting Wittmann to end up getting it. But given the Honda momentum recently, especially compared to last season, it's looking very promising indeed. Now, before we, between this race and the previous one, we kind of normally go sort of wondering to see what the actual sort of fan base is like. We normally assume that this is sort of an alpha home race, and therefore everyone turns up wearing at least some alpha merch. We expect to see the odds of Ferrari flag or shirt or any sort of yellow 46 livery Valentino Rossi stuff. And we also managed to get a word in with some of the fans where we could there, Swinny. And obviously they are disappointed in what's happening with the alphas, but they fully understand their current plight, so they're not exactly kicking off about it like if it had been happening for the entire season there. So they have given them a sort of, their approval. They're off the hook for the time being. But yeah, it's not looking good for this particular weekend, and they might need to just brush this one down to bad luck.
Yeah, you're not wrong. I think the two works, Alphas just squeaking into the points, was probably what saved them by the skin of their teeth this time. But yeah, we'll have to see. They've got they've got some front-wheel drive cars in front of them, so in theory they could make up ground on the start and get further up and potentially finish in the top 10. But who knows with the way those cars have been behaving and all the cars around them? We'll just have to wait and see.
We shall wait and see. So there's less rear-wheel drive threat. P6 might be where we need to keep an eye on. Jamie Webber finished 5th, starts 6th. Obviously there he goes, there Schneider goes already. Thompson into the lead then. Moreno 2nd, but not for long. Webber there, and also Salo there down the inside. But Moreno holds off bravely. One of the Volvos takes a very good exit out of turn 1, makes it a profitable entry into turn 2. But you still see a top 8 there. It's Thompson, clean getaway. Moreno, just as much of a clean getaway there. Salo, one of the other, that's Schneider's BMW, trying to cut as much of that particular curb that we just saw one of the Tamiya cars cutting as well. But here's the search for the waterfall, lap 1. Wittmann up to 8th already. Ingram down to 9th. Wittmann up to 7th, and Ingram almost up to 8th if Palou's form is anything to go by, and Ingram's form anything to go by as well. Still side by side with this onboard and the two Renaults behind that Volvo. Where have we seen that before? Oh yes, race 1.
Race 1 and an awful lot of last season as well. Ingram, I think, is basically on run away from the Renaults mode and try to put as many cars between him and those two as possible.
Lap 1 almost complete then. Moreno closing in on Thompson by the looks of it. Salo doing quite well. Ford in still uncertain terms are kind of back. Doing well for this year so far. Nothing profitable out of it other than championship points, which is what you expect. Ingram scraping the back of Wittmann's car. Maybe the locals won't like that, but we'll soon see at the end of the race.
Yeah, that's entirely possible. Meanwhile, Wirtz managed to get his way past Palou like it was no challenge at all.
Bianchi ahead of Zanardi, one of the DHL cars, and then Ekstrom's Volvo as well. So Fisichella, bad form race 1, still stuck behind the red flag Crown athlete. And a decent battle right at the back there. Kubica, though, down to 18th, down to 19th, down to 20th almost. Oh, gravel as well. But even then, you see the remnants of a day. He's almost back up to 18th then. And here's Thompson's rear view.
Yeah, Carlos Marino there just providing to be a good buffer between Thompson and the rest of the works cars behind him. Marino's doing a very good job of holding on to that second place and definitely making it his and not having to defend for it or fight for it. He's sitting there comfortably at the moment with Salo kind of being the roadblock for now.
Salo very much playing blocker there. Renault a bit passively blocking, but those two BMWs precariously placed, if not vicariously.
The Beamers need to be careful not to start fighting each other, because they could, in theory, move forwards and overtake the cars in front. But if they start fighting with each other, they're just going to let them get away. Meanwhile, Ingram on his march up to the front, running away from the Renaults. Going to have a go at Nicky Lammers into the waterfall.
A P9 start for Ingram. Now soon to be P6. Maybe not at the waterfall. Lammers doing quite well. The two Renaults still joined at the hip.
Yeah, they were trying to mug Wittmann there, but she managed to get a good run through the waterfall, kept them behind her. I wonder if that's only going to be a temporary thing though, because Wirtz is looking very aggressive, so is Bianchi. And I don't know if they got any talking to about the long-range dive bombs they were doing in race 1, so don't be surprised if we see that happen again in race 2.
If they weren't between this race and the last one, they definitely will between weekends.
Yeah. Ingram with that slingshot move gets himself past Lammers. He's practiced that one enough in race 1 to know how it works.
Clean as a whistle. Lammers down to 7th. And here comes Moreno with a bit of momentum then. We're expecting Thompson to clear off if that Cobra was going to be playing blocker, but it's not doing the things we expected it to do. Form, if indeed form is. You know, we didn't expect it to do so well at Interlagos, and hey presto, here it is doing fantastically well. Start of race 2.
Yeah, he's even going for the lead.
All right then.
I don't think we've had a privateer win a race outright since Kobayashi at Interlagos a few years ago.
Certainly, and even that was a surprise because of the where the Tamiya team are now then, but didn't last long. Nope. Thompson back in the lead.
Yeah, Carlos Marino had the classic "I'm in the lead, I'm not in the lead" moment there. Salo now breathing down their necks, pulling away from the two BMWs a little bit.
Yeah, the BMW is not really posing a threat then.
No, they're just sort of sitting there occupying two top 10 spots and just possibly looking at a good points haul rather than anything overly spectacular.
Well, this is looking familiar, isn't it? BMW, Volvo, Renault. Just not necessarily in the right places. Now they're gaining on Salo.
Yeah, this is going to become
fastest lap for Bianchi again.
8-car train for the lead pretty soon here, because Thompson is not pulling away. Marino is holding on to the back of Thompson, and everybody is following suit.
Certain level of miscommunication. They exit a turn 2. 1 Alpha in the top 10, but 3 Alphas in the points. 4th one should be in the points.
Line astern through the waterfall. Some heroics further back here though. Schneider's got herself mugged by 2 cars.
And is starting to fall back. Ingram into the top 5.
Yeah, Bianchi followed suit.
This could be very spicy for the final knockings of the race if my assumptions and the potential projections are anything to go by. Ingram is on a flyer, and it won't be long before he's on a podium finish, which then means, can he end up winning race 2?
All the way from back on 9th on the grid. It might just happen. I think Schneider's about to... Okay, maybe not. It looked like Wirtz was going to do the slingshot move. Webber goes defensive into turn 1. He's definitely looking at his mirrors rather than at the windscreen, it seems.
And if Ingram's going fast, so's Bianchi. Still got the fastest lap.
31.5. And there goes Wirtz on Schneider. They're going to have a little drag race down the back straight, or not, because Wirtz nearly loses it.
Momentum gone from that Renault's front wheels through that S's section there, so Schneider still ahead. Moreno could not achieve the possible, not the impossible. It's likely that it could happen.
The classic Renault wobbliness
is beginning to manifest. Bubble.
That old curse.
That particular bubble. Below down to 11th. Wittmann now top 10.
She got herself up to 7th, so she's lost a few spots since having a good start, but it's still better than where she qualified.
Still in the top 10, apologies. But it's still the same top 3. Thompson, Moreno, Salo still there, and these 3 behind baying for blood.
Yeah, Ingram just decided to push Webber down the straight there rather than overtake him.
Webber showing signs of aggression. There was Salo's rear bumper. Perhaps if we could listen closely, we could have heard the thud of that BMW front hitting the back of the Ford Focus. Now then, Volvo power, momentum being gained.
He's got to run.
Slipstream on.
He's going to opt to push Webber again instead of overtake. So he's trying to be tactical about this. And here comes Bianchi, who has become king of the dive bombs.
Then? But then will it be another switch back?
Oh,
There's the recipe
again
for success right there. It's going to happen again, and we're not even halfway through.
I think Ingram can realise that Webber may be quicker than the cars in front of him. And again, wants to put that buffer of all 3 of these cars, or 4 of these cars, between him and Bianchi behind him. Will he do the slingshot move around the last corner? Takes a wider exit, or wider entrance, later apex. There he goes.
But even Bianchi with even later apex.
Yeah.
Bit of bump draft for Salo. Salo didn't like that. Chickened out of the gesture.
Outbreaks him though. There goes the king of the dive bombs.
As soon as it struck halfway.
It's got Bianchi past Webber. So once again, Ingram is still seeing a rearview mirror full of yellow and blue.
Training in that 3M Ford Focus taught Bianchi some fight.
That was the idea of Renault loaning him out there in the first place, was to give him a year under his belt, so he can learn some of the other tracks that he won't have done in the European series. And these cars are slightly faster than the Euro Series cars, so also gives him a better idea of the extra power available. As we see, Webber has got himself overtaken by Wirtz, so both BMs now behind both Renaults.
Renaults not afraid to dive bomb each other, let alone anyone else's car.
Maybe that was part of the team briefing. actively encouraging dive bombs and aggressive behaviour. Ingram, is he going to try this slingshot again on Salo this time?
Goes.
There he goes. Next up is
But
Moreno.
then, watch those two Renaults. They have a penchant for taking the wide line. We've seen it in many races in the past. There's the inside.
Bianchi sends it.
Salo decides to play sensible.
Is Wirtz going to follow through? Not quite.
He was also playing it a little bit sensible. But now we've got a Webber behind him as the two BMWs surprisingly low 7th and 8th for race 2. All the while, Thompson is raking it in. He's laughing all the way to the bank right now as Ingram has got ground on the Moreno Cobra. It's I think that's the inevitable.
Yeah.
Because these two Renaults are now going to close in on that Ford as well. Fantastic run for the Brazilian, fantastic run for the Cobra team, and another fantastic weekend. Let's not call. Well, it's almost like I'm calling the shot right now that that Focus is not going to be in the podium by the end of the race, especially if Bianchi is doing what he's done over the last couple of laps. Potential switch back to be on the exit of the Rabbit Ears.
The two Renaults are the only other cars that can do the Ingram slingshot round the outside of the last corner here. Although Bianchi has a wiggle.
Driving.
There he goes. Takes the wide line. Gets the momentum. Marino is able to slam the door. I see Thompson going defensive for the lead there.
This is what he was preparing for, was a bit more aggression from a faster competitor perhaps than that Cobra Ford driven by Moreno.
Wirtz managed to sneak his way past Salo there.
Delaying the inevitable, especially if Webber's going to get a move as well.
Wouldn't rule it out. Oh, Bianchi basically on the boot lid of Moreno's Ford there. We know he feels brave on the brakes. Oh, into the back.
And so did Wirtz. Would that have unsettled Moreno's nerves, that thread from Wirtz? It's still
I don't think he was expecting
a
second hit there, but it was only a light tap, and if anything, it hurt Wirtz more because he's now in a compromised position. Has Salo alongside him. Bianchi then pushing Moreno around the corner there. Wirtz losing a position. There goes Webber now having a bit of an opportunistic look. Sneaking his way past.
Wow, that did unsettle Wirtz then. Maybe it has damaged the front of that Renault, hitting the back of the Ford so hard.
Possibly.
But this battle, okay, there was some smoke there, definite aggression from one, if not both, of these two, as Thompson wanting to earn this win rather than just give it straight to Ingram, who has driven fantastically.
Yeah, Ingram has definitely learnt a trick with the last corner and has utilised it a lot, catching a lot of other drivers out.
And the way Ingram's form has been within the last 2 seasons, there's a potential there to fight with the top guns, basically. And Thompson, that Honda should be a top gun, top front running team. We were expecting it to happen, but it didn't last season, and it's doing quite well here.
Yeah, they've had a bit of an up and down year so far, Honda. They got first and third in the very first race at Interlagos, but have struggled to crack the top 10 on more than one occasion so far. So they're just, once again, lacking the consistency that they are forever chasing.
Nicky Lammers with that win in Interlagos. Thompson going to get his win this year earlier than he did last year. It took until the American flyaway run for him to get that win in title almost decided elsewhere before the flyaways. Still a potential threat for outright series, but then
Ingram's doing more pushing down the start finish straight here.
Another wake-up call for Thompson with 3 to go. There's your top 3 then. Thompson, Ingram, Bianchi. Salo and Moreno down to 5th. Okay. Still no signs of giving up yet, but these other cars are within the form of their, World Super Touring car careers. The fact that the Fords haven't really had a show or a decent performance, nor has this Alpha today. The Fisichella, it's surprising that the Fisichella Alpha is outside of the points, and those 2 DHLs, well, yes, they might have earned it, but will they have to play political? We'll have to see. But 2.5 to go then. Thompson with a bit of a gap, but these two look like they want it more.
Yeah, Thompson is going to have to pull out every single defensive trick he knows to keep these cars behind him. Honda may have the speed to do it. It might not be set up in well enough to do it. But then there's also every possibility that Ingram and Bianchi get caught in a protracted battle for second, allowing Thompson to get away. That's not looking like the case so far. Ingram once again pushing Thompson down the start-finish straight.
Very defensive from Thompson. There's a switch back on the cards here. Might not be the right place for it as the sun begins to set here.
Oh, is that another dive from Bianchi?
Maggiore. If on the slowest point of the track, though, that Renault did not capitalise. Thompson with a gap again. 2 to go. And there's the top 8. Moreno still clinging on to top 5.
Yeah, he's in the mix. He's doing well. It might not be a podium, but this is still another finishing position that they can celebrate.
And good showing from the one of the regular front runners in the Brazilian Stock Car Championship, hence the rookie badge for the World Championship. Weber ahead of Wirtz again.
Yep, saw him just nick it off of Wirtz at the waterfall there.
And another entertaining battle with just over a lap to go, despite the lack of any Italian or even Latin presence in the top 3.
Okay, final corner is a slingshot on. We know Ingram can do it as well as Bianchi. They're both going to run out wide to the white line. Thompson keeps it tight. Is Ingram going to give Thompson another bump draft? Probably too far away this time. Who is going to send it on who into turn 1?
That differed from the previous lap, how close Ingram was to the back bumper of Thompson's car. Perhaps trying to play it safe for the last lap, but Bianchi has other ideas in mind. Lammers, Schneider and Wittmann propping up the top 10. Palou fallen down to 11th. Zanardi still in 12th. His position hasn't changed throughout the race. And there goes the Fisichella Alpha, now being the sandwich, in the sandwich position.
Yep, in between the 2 DHL Alphas, he's in 15th, therefore a solitary point for him if he stays there. They've gotten clean through the waterfall, no change in positions there for anybody in the top 8, top 7.
And I think this particular fight has managed to allow Thompson to get away with it, but it's still not. I mean, we saw the lead change on the last lap in race 1. The lead could still change, and it is still the final lap, but the turns are counting down. Penultimate turn, Thompson still leads. Ingram with the power though, the momentum. Thompson looking almost defensive there. Will we see Ingram in the same shot there? We do not. We don't see any shot right now. There's Thompson defensive. Ingram, it's going to be a side-by-side finish. There's the checkered flag waving. Who's going to... It's a top 3 across the line. Well, the positions didn't change, but that was an incredible finish. I'm slightly gobsmacked here that Thompson had to go ultra defensive, and we didn't see it until we saw them appear from the side of the concrete bridge. There's the top 15 across the line. Fisichella getting another position by the end of it, and here's the final runners then. No major stragglers this time by Tamiya's getting some extra performance there, but boy was that a very close finish there.
Yeah, I was wondering if we were going to see some sort of drag race, considering how much momentum Ingram and Bianchi were able to get around the last corner there. Thompson did a very good job just holding it off, but I wasn't expecting to see all three of them line astern at the checkered flag there. That was seriously something to watch.
Now, Ingram was looking for the win there, but looking at the championship points after round 4, he is now in the lead of the championship, given that Bianchi had led it from round 1. Bianchi now down to 3rd with his teammates Wirtz up to 2nd, so Renault looking very good for the Constructors' Championship there. As for the privateers then, that is going to be the Zanardi Cobra car, having all the best performance in the world so far for a privateer outside of the DHL form of seasons gone by. They are leading the Privateers Independence Championship as well. Renault with Team Honda now up to 3rd. The Polestar Volvo getting up to 2nd. And Alpha's poor form has knocked them out of the top 3 of the Constructors' Championship there. This is the wake-up call that they need, and hopefully the momentum from that takes them into a Spanish round with all the effort in the world to right some wrongs of this weekend.
Yeah, you're not wrong. Moving to Barcelona next, we know that track historically prefers rear-wheel drive machinery, so if they're going to make a comeback, that's the best place for them to start doing so.
I'm going to have a tough time sleeping, knowing that we've seen some of the best racing that this championship has had to offer, and there's still more of it to come. We'll see you in Spain. Good racing, everyone.